Hi everyone, so we'll be starting the workshop now. So before we start, I just want to remind everyone to install the softwares that we have asked you guys to download because we'll be using them throughout this workshop. So today, Jinji and I will be presenting on ethical hacking. I'll be introducing to you the concepts and basic components of the softwares that we'll be using, while Jinji will delve deeper into the ethical hacking portion. Next slide. So before we start, right, we just want to put out a disclaimer that the use of external websites does not constitute an official partnership between our club and the organization. And also, more importantly, we do not promote or encourage any illegal activity or hacking without permission. Next slide. So today, here are the three main topics that we'll be covering. Firstly is the introduction to ethical hacking. Secondly is the introduction to Kali Linux. And thirdly is the website hacking demo. So the learning objectives of today is firstly, to understand the purpose of ethical hacking. Secondly, to learn the basic Linux commands. Thirdly, to learn how to gather useful information about the websites. And lastly, to learn how to gain access to vulnerable websites on Metasploitable. So what is ethical hacking? Ethical hacking is an authorized attempt to gain unauthorized access to a computer system, application, or data. It is detecting vulnerabilities in an application system or organization's infrastructure that an attacker can use to exploit an individual or an organization. The purpose of ethical hacking is to prevent data from getting stolen and misused by malicious attackers. So hackers attack. So the reason why we have to do ethical hacking is because hackers attack every 39 seconds, affecting 1 in every 3 Americans every year. And the average cost of a data breach in 2020 was $150 million. So hackers are divided into 3 categories: white hat hackers, black hat hackers, and gray hat hackers. White hat hackers help organizations detect vulnerabilities in a system and are authorized by the organization to perform the hacking. Black hat hackers, on the other hand, steal information from organizations and use it for their own personal gain. And they are not authorized by the organization to perform such hackings. And then next, we have the middle ground between these two, the gray hat hackers, which is a combination of black and white hackers. They hack without malicious intent, usually, and usually do it for fun, but they may not be authorized to perform such hacking. So next, we have 5 phases of ethical hacking. The first phase is the planning phase, where we test goals, and the test goals are defined and the intelligence is gathered. The second phase is scanning, where the scanning tools are used to understand how a target responds to any intrusions. The third phase is gaining access, where web application attacks are staged to uncover a target's vulnerabilities. The fourth phase is maintaining access, where advanced persistent threats, APTs, are emulated to see if a vulnerability can be used to maintain access. The last phase is the analysis stage, where results are used to configure the web app firewall, WAF settings, before testings are conducted once again. Now, we'll be introducing to you the software that we'll be using, Kali Linux. It's an open source platform geared towards various information security tasks, such as penetration testing, security research, computer forensic, and reverse engineering. It has more than 600 penetration tools and a wide range of wireless device support. Next slide. So we'll be running Kali Linux on the virtual machine. So from now onwards, do let us know or voice any concerns if you are facing any issues following the instructions. So firstly, now, can we get everyone to open up the VMware workstation? So it will look something like this once you have opened it. Wait for about 30 seconds to let everyone open it. And then maybe once you guys are done, you can put a thumbs up so that we will know that we can move on. Okay, I think I saw one thumbs up. So maybe I'll wait for a while more and then we'll continue. Okay, so once you guys have opened up this virtual machine, right? You guys can select open a virtual machine and select the Kali Linux. But ensure that you have extracted the file using 7-zip. So for those who are unsure, right, you can right click on the Kali Linux file inside your file explorer, and then you select 7-zip, and then you select extract files to extract it. And then you'll be able to view it in the VMware workstation. So I'll wait for about 1 minute again. Then let us know if you are facing any issues or if you're okay. If everyone is okay, can you all put a thumbs up? Okay, so I think I saw about 2 thumbs up, so we can move on. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask us. So after you open up the Kali Linux virtual machine, right? You select the edit settings, edit virtual machine settings. Then ensure that under display, you select accelerate 3D graphics. But ensure that you tick the checkbox. And then next slide also. And then under the network settings, right, ensure that it is set to net. And then once you're done, you can click on the play virtual machine. So once again, I'll wait for a while to let everyone be on the same page. Then once you're done, you can put a thumbs up.
Changwei, there's a question in the chat. Just
Oh, sorry, okay. Yeah, correct. It's just select accelerate 3D graphics and net.
Okay, so for those who are wondering what is actually net, right? So basically what you want to do is to connect your virtual machine to the internet that you are using on your main computer. Yeah, so that if they share the same network, then you will be able to use the internet in the virtual machine. Yeah, if you don't set net, you will not be able to use the internet in the virtual machine.
Okay, so I hope everyone has managed to get to this stage. If anyone's facing troubles, feel free to voice out. Okay, now after that, you can click play virtual machine and then you'll reach this page. You can log in with the username root and the password TOOR. And then to toggle between like your virtual machine and your actual laptop desktop, you can just click on Control Alternate. So maybe if everyone is okay, maybe you can show a thumbs up again. Okay, now I'll be quickly running through the Kali Linux user interface. So you can enter the full screen mode by right-clicking and selecting display settings and configuring the scale to 200%. Or if you're okay with what it looks like now, you can just feel free to leave it as it is. Yep, next slide. So the status bar at the top right will show you the applications, places, workspaces, and settings on your virtual Windows machine. The applications are apps that are categorized into their different programs, and then places show the frequently accessed files on the Kali Linux virtual machine. Workspaces allow users to toggle between multiple desktops, and then we can configure the network settings via the settings icon. So here are a few basic Linux commands that we'll be using for the later part of this workshop. So you can select the Terminator or the Qterminal app in your virtual machine to run these commands. So to print the working directory, you just enter pwd. To list all files in the current working directory, you just type in ls. To return more information on the files, you do ls -l. And then to change the directory to another directory, you just do cd -downloads. And to return to the previous directory, you just do cd ... And then if you want to get help on how to use certain commands, you just do ls --help, or you can do the other version, which is man --ls. And then to install programs on the command prompt, you just do apt-get install terminator. That is if you want to install Terminator, but it's already pre-installed on the machine for us.
So I will just show you all like if you are lost, I will just show you like an example of all these Linux command. So I believe that all of you should be in the Kali Linux terminal. So for example, to actually understand to print out the current working directory. So okay, before that, if you all don't know where the terminal is, it's located on the left side and it's actually the red color thing. Yeah. So for those who didn't catch what Qianhui mentioned just now, so this is how you actually access the terminal. So for example, if you want to print the current working directory, we can just simply type in pwd and enter. And you can see that I'm actually in the root directory. Yeah. And if I want to actually like list the files, I could just simply type ls. So there is actually a lot more Linux command that is available. So the list that we provide are not exhaustive. It's just the more commonly used commands will be, I mean, normally people would actually use lah. Yeah. So feel free to like play around with the commands to see and test the stuff in the Linux.
Yeah, maybe we'll give you about 3 minutes to play around with the commands. Okay, now we'll be moving on to the next slide. Okay, so these two commands are the more usually used ones, and we'll be using it more frequently later on, because the first command will help us to obtain the IP address and obtain the MAC address. So you just type in ifconfig into your terminal, and then you'll be able to see the IP address and the MAC address. And then for the second command, is to help us discover devices on the same network. So you just type in net discover space -r space and then your IP address, which is obtained from the ifconfig. The IP address can be seen from the value after the inet after running the ifconfig command. It should be the second line that was returned.
Okay, so I'll just show you all what is the how does it look like after you type the ifconfig. So in this case, right, if you type ifconfig, you should be able to see this the output. So the IP address in the EHT0, right, is actually the IP address of your network that's connected to the Kali Linux lah. Yeah, so like for mine, it's actually 192.168.1.133.130. Yeah. So so this is like the output when you type ifconfig. This is going to be useful for like the later part or like of the presentation. Yeah.
Yeah, and then once you are done with the ifconfig, you can try out the second command, which will allow you to find devices on the same network. So note that the numbers behind is your IP address, and then the 1-4 is to specify the IP range to search for devices connected to the same network. Yeah, okay, next I'll be introducing Metasploitable to you. So Metasploitable is a virtual machine that acts as a server. It is an intentionally vulnerable Linux virtual machine, allowing us to perform penetration testing and security research on it. So can we get you guys to open up another virtual machine and then click on your Metasploitable file that you have installed and extracted. And the username and password for this is msfadmin. I'll give you about about 30 seconds to open this up.
So for this Metasploitable, right, this will be the target server that we will be hacking in the second half of the presentation. So we will need to actually open up this in order to have the server online for us to actually do the penetration testing. And when you're actually logging in, right, during the login, you'll be able to see like the username, but when you are inputting the password, right, even though you type on the keyboard, on the screen, it appears invisible lah. So technically, the purpose of this is to actually kind of protect like you yourself leaking out the password to the surrounding people when you're using this software. So if you're actually in this software, right, and you will notice that your mouse will kind of disappear lah. So if you want to get back your control over the mouse, right, simply click on control alternate at the same time. You'll be able to get back your mouse. Yeah. So for example, if you see on my screen, right, like my Metasploitable, when I click on my Metasploitable, right, I actually cannot see my mouse anymore. So I just need to click control alternate in order to like get the mouse back. So in case if you are stuck in the Metasploitable virtual machine.
Okay, now I'll pass the time to Chinjie to teach you more about the gathering of useful information about websites and learning more about ethical hacking.
Okay, yeah, so thank you, Qianhui. So now I'll be doing like a short demonstration on how we can actually do penetration testing on a website. So before we do so, we need to understand what is a website. So a website is actually like a collection of publicly accessible interlinked web pages that share a single domain name. So it can be created and maintained by individuals, groups, or businesses. So and all these websites are actually normally installed on the web servers on computer, which have unique IP addresses. So if we actually go back to the phases of the ethical hacking, so phase one of ethical hacking is to plan and perform reconnaissance on the target that we are targeting at. So before any penetration testing, we need to actually clearly define what is our objective, and followed by gathering the information around the websites. So in this demonstration, what our objective is to actually discover the vulnerabilities that could be exploited in the website of the website, which is in this case the Metasploitable. So and normally, right, all these websites actually have a list of information which can be useful for our penetration testing. So for example, we can actually gather we can gather the IP addresses, the domain name information, the technology used by the websites, and like the other stuff such as maybe unlisted files or directories. So after some sources of information which allow us to understand more about the website is listed here. So we can use one of these listed websites here to actually find out more information about the target website that you are looking at. So for example, if I should type in google.com and like in the who's lookup website, I will be able to obtain like a list of Google information which can be seen on the right of the PowerPoint slide. So we can see that once I type in google.com, we will be able to see who registered the website. So in this case, it's actually Google. Like we can also find like the dates that is created, the name of the servers, like the IP address, which is in this case the 74.125.195.99 to the 234. And you can see the IP location, which is located in California, etc. So once we are done planning and gathering information about the website, we can move on to the next level of scanning. So at this stage, we are actually further discovering more information that can be useful for us to perform penetration testing. So there are two key things we can do here. So one of them is to actually discover subdomain, and the other is to discover directories and files in the website itself. So what is subdomains? So subdomains serve as an extension to the domain name, and it is created to organize and navigate to the different sections of the website. So for example, right, let's use the store.yourwebsite.com. So on the leftmost part of the web link, right, is actually this subdomain. And as it goes down to the right, the domain level increases. So you can see that for store is actually the subdomain, then the your website is the primary domain, and the .com is the top level domain. Then another aspect which we can actually perform scanning is to discover the files and directories that is stored in the website, as which I mentioned previously. So directories which is also known as folder, your typical folder on your computer, is a collection of files that is created for organizing of information. So file is a unit of information that is stored on the computer. So now we can get hands-on on how we can actually discover subdomain with the command knock. So knock is a command in the Linux for us to actually do a subdomain scan. So in order to do this, we can simply type knockpy and the website that you wish to discover subdomain. So are we doing like a dive demo on running the knockpy? So yeah, so in this case, let's see, let me try it on like to google.com. Okay, so I simply need to type knockpy and google.com. You see that knockpy has initiated, and it's now looking through every single subdomain available on Google. Yeah, so if you want to stop the search, right, simply type Ctrl+Z to cut the search, like if you don't want it to have too much list. So as you can see, right, knockpy helps you to identify all the subdomains that is associated with Google. So for example, right, we can see that Google has a subdomain called admin. Yeah, you also have like accounts and alerts as a subdomain, which existed in their server. Yeah. So so you can try it on most of the websites if you want to actually find out the subdomains lah. Yeah. So yeah, so for those who actually missed what I mentioned just now, you can stop the process by pressing the keyboard button Ctrl+Z. Yeah. So you can actually take your time to explore the various website and decide subdomain if you're curious about the website, like yeah. Okay. So next is we also have tools to actually discover the directories and files that exist on a website or server. So the command for this is called the. So we can actually run the command man derp, which actually stands for manual derp, to understand what this command is about. So to show you an example, I will type man derp. So it will list, it is a documentation about what derp is. So in this case, we can see that derp is a web content scanner, which actually looks for existing or hidden web object. And it basically works by launching a dictionary-based attack against a web server and analyzing the response. So you can see this synopsis is technically your syntax that it follows. So it follows like the command dot first, followed by a URL, and like the URL base and the word list choice that you have in order to actually search for the files and directories. By default, there's like a list of common file names that are commonly used by different websites and computers. So even if you don't have this command, which we will try later, you will still be able to find out information about these servers. And lastly, we also have the options. So options are all these additional adjustment that you would like to actually play with lah. I mean to try with lah. Yeah, so we have things like you can just add the -a, which actually what shows your specify your custom user agent, like which browser you're using, etc. Yeah. So that is the maybe we can try running derp. So in this case, as I mentioned before, we are using Metasploitable as a testing ground for us to look for vulnerabilities. So to do so, we will actually run a command derp, and we need to input HTTP // then the IP address of your Metasploitable, which can be obtained by typing the ifconfig in the Metasploitable terminal and /multilide. Yeah, so I'll leave this screen for a moment so that y'all can actually follow if any. Yeah, so if anyone who cannot follow or lost, feel free to actually tell us on chat. Yeah. So I will be also doing it at the same time to show you what is the end result of me running the same thing as yours. And for those who are actually stuck in the manual, right, simply press Q to quit. So usually all these terminals are quite user friendly. It will tell you like how do you stop a process like at the end of the the screen. Yeah. So and so as you can see, right, my Metasploitable, the IP address is actually the 192.168.133.131. So I'll type this value into the Kali terminal. So once you have actually entered this this command, right, you should be able to see a list of directories and files that's actually stored on this Metasploitable. Yeah. So if you are curious, right, how does Metasploitable looks like on the browser? So simply type in the IP address in the browser, and you'll be able to actually see how the server actually looks like. So in this case, this is what the page looks like. Yeah. Okay. So once you are done running the command, right, you should see a list of file and directories as I mentioned before. So so after you have actually scanned through all the directory and file, you will need to actually explore every single directories to see if there is any useful information that can be used to help to actually like see if the website has any vulnerabilities or any data that can be useful for us to actually get in. Oh, okay. So yeah, so for those who are actually who couldn't get the IP, right? So simply type if config. So it's not IP, sorry, it's if config. Yeah. So yeah, so just to recap, the IP address is actually the INET address listed on the second line of the ETHO. Yeah. So I'll probably give like another minute for those who for y'all to actually explore and look around this command. So if you look through this whole list, right, there's actually something that we can consider exploring. So if you can see, there is actually a file that has it's a file that stores the password. So things that website that looks like this, right, are of our interest. So what can we do with this information? We can actually simply copy the directory, copy the address by just simply right clicking and go to your browser, which is this one, and just paste the link that you generated. So this will allow you to actually see the page of the file. Yeah. So like I could also copy the there's like the image to see what is in the server. Yeah. So after exploring the files and directories, we can see that in this website, the owner actually stores their password in this file called accounts.txt. So we can actually navigate and look around like this stuff and open files like this lah. So from this, we can actually see that the password is what, admin, as in the username could be admin, mpass, monkey, etc. stuff. Yeah. So this information could be useful for us if the page requires us to maybe like log in, or maybe like maybe might log in the website or something. Yeah. So feel free to actually explore the Metasploitable website, and maybe like if you're curious, you can just copy and paste the various websites into the browser. So I'll probably give yes. Also, it's another website for us to actually do penetration testing. Yeah. So okay, so if for those who don't understand what is Multi-Day, right? So Metasploitable is a server that holds several other websites. So Multi-Day is one of them. Yeah. So it is a website that is actually for people to try out penetration testing. Yeah. So for those who want to see like the web page of Multi-Day, this is how it looks like. Yeah. So there are other things such as like DBWA. So I guess it's like this is to mimic like a website that has the login and password features. Yeah. So this, yeah. So you can just explore all these information. So all these are based on the Metasploitable. Okay, so once we have gathered more information about the website, we can proceed to gain access to the website and see if we can actually further do more exploitation on the website. So all this exploitation, right, will be the key information that we want to tell the organization that they need to actually like patch up or to fix it. Yeah. So going back to the phases of ethical hacking, we are now at the phase 3. So phase 3 is gaining access, as I mentioned. So there's actually generally 2 ways we can further increase our access. So firstly, we can actually do a local file upload vulnerability. So this allows the user or hacker to upload a malicious file directly, which will then immediately execute the connection between the website and your terminal. If not, the other way to go about is to actually do remote file upload vulnerability. So this application uses user input to fetch a remote file from a site on the internet and store it locally. And this file is then executed by an attacker. So what this means is that you first upload the file, but it will not be activated until like maybe another user actually click like a link or like the file that you uploaded, which will then trigger the connection between you and the server. So this is how a typical, I guess, how exploiting file upload vulnerability works. So the hacker will first create a payload of vulnerabilities and then upload onto a website, which should be stored on the server of the website. Then the server would actually execute the vulnerability when it was uploaded lah. And at the same time, the hacker, right, won't be only creating payload. It will also set up the terminal to get ready to receive the connection from the server. So once the server actually execute the command of the vulnerability, you will actually have a connection interpreter session open, which is the connection between the hacker and the server, which allows you to actually start the hacks of the server, like looking for more information, sensitive information about the website. So we'll now look on how we can actually do a file upload vulnerability exploitation. So what I will need y'all to actually do now, right, is actually go back to the Metasploitable website as seen on the right side of my screen. And if y'all don't know how to access, simply type the IP address of the Metasploitable to actually reach this website. So after you have load this web page, click on the DVWA. So this will be the website which will be demoing the exploitation of the file upload vulnerability. So we have in phase 2, we have actually identified that one of the accounts user of this home Metasploitable is called admin, and the password is actually obtainable from one of the website that was one of the website listed here. So to not save too much, to save the time of looking through everything, right? I've provided you the username and the password. So in this case, right, the username and password is admin and password. So simply type in these two, which will allow us to actually gain access and login to this website. So once logged in, you should be able to see this web page, which is called then vulnerable web. Okay, so once you are in, right, for the purpose of this live demonstration, we would want to set the security level to low. So if your security level is not low yet, simply go to the DVWA security and change it to the low and submit. So after you have done that, it will be in the lowest level. So normally what an ethical hacker will do is actually look through like the various tabs that's available for us to actually do any injections or anything. So in this case, we can see that this website has a tab called upload, which allows us to actually upload files. So this means that we can try and test whether this upload file has any vulnerabilities for this website. So going back to the terminal, so remember the diagram that I showed you on how actually hackers would actually do the file upload vulnerability. So before they can do the file upload vulnerability, they will need to generate a vulnerability or a backdoor. So in order to generate a vulnerability, right, we can actually use this command called weebly. So weebly is a tool to create backdoors. So to create a backdoor, simply run the command weebly generate and the password that you will need to set for the file, and store it on the place that you've chosen. So in this place, I've chosen to store the file on my root directory as testing PHP. So to do a showcase, so we'll start off by typing weebly generate. So in this case, I want to have a password of 121212. So the reason why we have this password is because we don't want anyone else to access other than yourself. So after that, I'll specify the directory which I'll be storing, which is root. Then in this case, I'll be naming my file as testing.php. So PHP is like the file format that we'll be uploading to the websites in order to do the hack lah. So once done, enter, and you'll be able to see that the output saying that we have actually generated something with a password of this. Yeah. So maybe I'll give like maybe a 30 seconds for those who are still trying out this command. So if you are like me, which who actually store the file in the root, you can actually find this file in the files folder located on the screen now. Yeah. Okay, so after this is done, we will proceed to do the we will proceed to upload the file in order to create the to exploit the vulnerability. So in this case, just simply click browse and upload this, and click upload, and it will be uploaded. So we can see how easy one can actually upload this file into websites for websites that it doesn't have high securities. So once we uploaded this file, right, we are actually successfully connected to the server, and we are able to do a lot of stuff on the server. Yeah. So to actually see that we actually so to connect to the payload or vulnerability which you have uploaded, simply type in weebly and the link of the place where you actually uploaded to. So in this case, we have uploaded to the website, which is still under Metasploitable. So we'll be using the Metasploitable IP address. So in this case, my IP address is still 192.168.133 and 131. So and you actually notice that when we upload the file, right, they actually told us where the file is stored. So we simply need to copy the remaining directories after we have typed in that. So in this case, because we are in the website called dvwa, so it is actually stored on hackable/uploads/testing.php, and you have to input the password you actually have created just now, which is actually 121212 for me. Once done, enter, and you can see that actually we are connected to the server now, because we are seeing the word weebly in the command tool now. So maybe I'll give like another 30 seconds for those who are still typing to, yeah. So if you would like to verify whether you are really connected to the server, right? So simply run the command uname-a. So if you actually see what I have highlighted in my PowerPoint slide, it means that you are actually connected already. Yeah. So the yellow part is the Linux Metasploitable, the server version, and the date and the time that was connected. Then if you want to find out more information on what weebly can do, simply type the command help. So we list out everything that can be done with weebly. So for those who like to actually exit from this weebly tool, simply press the Control D to exit the weebly terminal. So I will just show the command again for those who may have not, who may have missed it. Okay, so I'll now move on. So after you have actually gained access to the website, we will need to see if we can actually maintain our access. So basically, if we still can keep on accessing this website without getting any disruption. Yeah, so one way which we can maintain access is to increase the privilege escalation. So for example, when currently you are entering as like maybe a visitor, so privilege escalation means that from a visitor level of access, you would be going up to the admin level of access. So that's the meaning of privilege escalation now. So going up to the higher level permission on the machine that's allowed. Yeah. Alternatively, what you can do is actually to create more vulnerabilities and inject more backdoors so that you will have lower chance of getting detected and still maintain access without getting cut off from the website. Yeah. So after we have done all these processes, we will need to do various analysis and maybe configuration to see if there's any way we can use to protect our, maybe like the website. So things like maybe firewalls, maybe monitoring or blocking things, traffics, etc. to see if all this works for the to prevent the vulnerabilities. So once we have actually understand how we can actually once we have identified weakness and understand how we can actually protect the website from getting all this vulnerability, we will need to like just report the vulnerabilities finding, write a summary to tell them what you have found to them so that they could actually learn from this and maybe like think of a ways to actually step up on their security. If not, losing information is quite it's a very serious matter. Yeah. So to recap the phases of ethical hacking, so we'll start off with planning and reconnaissance, following which we'll do scanning, followed by gaining access, then maintaining access, and finally the analysis and the configuration to increase the like the security level of the websites. Yeah, so to summarize what we have learned today, we actually learned how to use the Linux command to access a computer and a target. We also learned how to actually gather information on websites through the list, which I actually have listed in the slides. Even though those lists are not exhaustive, so if you manage to find out more interesting, more useful website, those will be also relevant. So we also look at how we actually discover website on the same server using NotPy. Yeah, I mean the subdomain using NotPy lah. And we also be able to discover and analyze sensitive files with the, yeah. And lastly, we also did a very simple and brief exploiting file upload vulnerabilities to gain access to a website. Yeah. So that's all from us for today, and thanks for attending the workshop. If you have any question, maybe feel free to ask us in the chat, and if you're curious about more about the various commands, you can ask us or simply I guess type help in the Linux terminal.